to talk about girls' trips and how being friends with women can keep other women broke. Girls' trips end up being expensive and half the time end up ruining friendships anyway. You don't even like these people, but you decide to go out of the country with them or out of the state with them. And you end up spending more than you should. Um, Sometimes not even really enjoying yourself. And worst case scenario, ruining a perfectly good friendship. After looking at the data, which we will get into, women should center their friendships around other things other than going to brunch, going on trips out of town, out of the country, out of the state, and doing things that spend money, being consumers rather than being productive or constructive. Constructive friendships are the new normal for the people in the dollhouse. That means we're getting together to raise money. We're getting together to raise awareness. We're getting together to work out. We're getting together to organize something. We're getting together to celebrate an event. We are doing something that is constructive in a way that could be working out, meditating, spiritual work. It doesn't have to center around spending money. It could be around doing something that is productive. Maybe you can do that over tea. You can talk over, while walking. You can have that feminine connection in other ways in your life rather than just going to brunch and going out to eat because it ends up being very, very expensive. So instead of focusing on consumption, focus on fitness, health, mental health, spiritual wellness, manifestation, learning a new subject matter, networking. One of the ways that women get together and spend money and be consumers rather than producers when they get together is by planning girls' trips, planning birthday trips. And even I've talked about brunch. We've already mentioned brunch. You have to ask yourself how much of your discretionary income, how much of your income period do you want to spend on friends? Just think about that. How much of that is spent towards impressing friends, making sure that you stay connected to them? And there's nothing wrong with maintaining connections to friends, but should it be expensive? No, it shouldn't. Lots of times women plan trips. I've been invited on several girls' trips. I went on a couple. I'd rather travel with my husband or stay home, to be honest. I like to stay home. I've been a lot of places, and home is my most favorite. I don't need to vacation from it. It is the most perfect place because I have curated it to my specific tastes and plan to continue to do more of that in the future. So, anyway, planning the perfect trip. It involves picking the right outfit. It involves making sure that your hair and makeup are right. It involves making sure that your purse game competes with everyone else's. Is it on par? Oh, and you're holding just the right bag. Your hair is just the right wave. You have been dieting. You have been working out. Okay, you won the fitness competition. You won the designer dress competition. You won the wig war. So that's just, listen, these trips are fun to a certain degree to me. How much do they typically they cost? That's something that I did not look up. How much do girls' trips typically cost? Let's see. It can be, yeah, like this one. Bachelorette parties, $800 per person. Okay, that's that. You might get away with going to Vegas for that. You might even be able to get away with going to Miami for that. So let's say you spend $800 a trip, for a trip. How many of those are you taking each year? Are you planning to go see your parents? Are you planning to travel anywhere else? Um, you really have to consider this, because what's really real is what the next line says. A content worthy luxury weekend can easily reach $5,000 per person. And I challenge you that it reaches that very quickly. It can easily reach that very quickly. How? Like I said, the outfit, the plane ticket, depending upon where you're going. If you're going on an out of the country trip, because once you reach a certain level of professionalism, Miami is cool, but a lot of women want to go out of the country. Um, People want to go out of the country. Best girls trip destinations. That's like the big girl thing to do. You want to take a travel and somewhere where you stamp your passport. Vegas is cool. Miami is all right. Maybe Dallas, Nashville, Bachelorette. Okay, cool. Nashville's not cheap. You on the low end, you're gonna spend $800 on the low end, and that's not gonna include your outfits, hair, nails, and maybe not even your travel, because that's gonna be food and lodging, depending upon how many of you can cram yourselves into a room. Um, on a weekend, easily. So, how many trips do you plan to spend? Let's say $5,000 per person. That's one trip a year. Okay, that's one trip per year with your girls. That's only one trip. I have spent many years working in finance, so I love to talk about these topics. And a good guideline to allocate for your trips is 5 to 10% of net income. 5 to 10% a year. Okay? This is net. This is after tax income. After tax income. 5 to 10% of your net income. So, let's see how much on average does the average Black woman make. This is the news release. It came out April 16th, 2025. Wage and salary workers statistics. Their weekly earnings. Wage and salary workers for the first quarter of 2025. It's tracking things that are self-reported. What are our averages? I guess it is, I talked about stop tracking race and just focus on citizen, non-citizen. Why do they need to do this? They're not giving us any benefits for it anymore. There's no reason to allocate, money towards programs related to helping specific racial groups. So why even track it? But it's still being tracked. And right now, Black and African American women on average make $887 a week. So white women make around $1,040 per week. That's about a $200 difference, okay, each week. So just women, let's say women 25 years and older, just on average. Let's just do women. How much do women make per week? That's $1,082 times 52. That gives us, and I just did it on my phone, so I'll do it for you guys. $1,082. That's each week. So for 52 weeks in a year, women make $56,000, $264 on average. $56,264 on average. How much of that is 10%? That's a high-end vacation. How much of that is 10%? That is $5,626 a year. So out of your $56,000 income, you're going to shell out $5,000 of it per year. You better make sure, good and well sure, that it's in your budget and it's after you paid taxes and retirement. Let's say that this is money that has already been taxed. You still you have to ask yourself, are you willing to spend $5,600 on your friends? Are you willing to spend that of your hard-earned money? How much does that break down to be each week? That's $108 a week. Are you already spending $108 a week to go to brunch with your friends? This is why I would recommend trips are nice, but make they have to be very meaningful with very meaningful people with things that you want to see, and make sure that you're seeing the people who primarily matter, like family members too. Seeing them, traveling with loved ones, and then fitting in friends. You have to also fit in healthcare, retirement, food, lodging, transportation, charitable gifts, clothing, grooming and maintenance. Like we discussed last week, just eating out alone, adding 20 days a month where you go to the deli and you grab a sandwich and some chips for $10. That that alone is $200 extra each month. $2,400 a year. That by itself. So, and if you start getting your nails done, like I said, that's $100 every 2 weeks. That's another $200 a month. That's $2,400. That's $4,800 plus the vacation. That's almost $10,000, which is just it's 2/3 of what is recommended to be the rent for a person who makes $56,000. I'm sorry, y'all. I just really think the world needs to know that this might be too high level for some people who just want to come here and talk about like, oh, my hair is straight and my skin is light. Like, this ain't just about that. Who gives a fuck about that? Really? At this point, this stage in the game, we have to elevate conversations because AI is about to take over. And some of y'all won't have no jobs in the next 2 years. So you might as well go ahead and cancel those girls' trips. And I'm just trying to give you some forewarning. A lot of you have already lost jobs who work for the federal government. So you need to be focused on elevating yourself with your income and investing in yourself rather than spending time hanging out with women who are complaining about dating apps, competing with who looks the best in a bathing suit by getting BBLs, because that surgery costs too. Okay, so y'all, it can get to be ridiculous. What is life really about? Girls trips are fun. Let them be centered around engagement. Like, that's a nice thing to do. Maybe that's too, like, what is the point? You go on a girls trip, yes. Let it be bachelorette, maybe. Or a couples trip. After a certain point, people should be doing couples trips. Family trips together. Family trips. Girls trips, that's college. That's maybe right out of college. That's in retirement. Like, after the family is gone, you've raised up your children, and hey, your husband doesn't want to go, or he's dead, or you never even had one. Everybody's free. Now you can go on trips. You're probably going to be managing your income even more closely then. So you might want to start practicing now. 30 plus best girls trips destination. Iceland. Oh, Iceland. Iceland is the number one place on this list. Best girls trips destinations around the world. Girls trip ideas. Number 1, Iceland. Let's see how much are tickets from Nashville to Iceland flights. Okay, 1 stop. All right. I don't want to stop, but listen, you can get 1 stop and do it for $720. That's not too bad. But that's going to be the start of, the trip. That's going to be the start of a very long trip. And you can get it for a good price as long as you plan ahead. And like hotels, Let's see what are hotels in Reykjavik. Okay, we've got 253 a night, 593. You want an experience, right? Because you could stay at the Quality Inn, probably. Maybe. Let's see. I'm sure you could. You could probably find an Airbnb, a hostel, guest house. What is this? Kid friendly free breakfast. That's kind of looks pretty from the outside. Maybe it's an Airbnb. Like you could find, you want to spend 2 or 3 nights in Reykjavik? Like that's $1,000 for the year. If you, that's just with trips. That's not food, and this is like a guest house. Whatever. What is this? Um, I'm just looking. I'm just wanting to show how quickly it can add up, and if you're traveling on the cheap, you may be able to get away with it. 2-star hotel, $61. Hey, listen, you get a hotel, hostel, townhouse hotel, 89. You can get a hotel for under $100 a night, but you're gonna spend, $300-400 on a hotel. Then you've got food. Then you've got to buy the right clothes. You've got to have the right luggage. You've got to have the right um, visas. You've got to have everything lined up. So let's say you can get away with a international trip to somewhere like Iceland for $2,000. That's still more that's almost 4%. So if you're supposed to spend on the low end 5% of your income, what is 5% of one's income? Oh, I don't know what this is. I don't need that. No, I don't. Sorry, Freeform, get away from me. Let's just close this out. If you on average are making $56,000 a year, what was it? Usual weekly earnings of women. We looked at it. It was on page 6. The women. This is not just black women. This is women, white and black, median weekly earnings. I believe I will say it's after taxes. This is so that we're lowballing, or highballing. So that way it's like the worst case scenario, basically. So 5% of that. That's the wrong calculation. I don't know what I was thinking. I meant to do yearly. So that's, if you make that 52 weeks a year, that's without vacation, sick days, every week you earned every single week, not every 2 weeks, every single week you made $1,082. And 5% of that for the year, that's $2,800. $2,813.20 spent on one vacation, one girl's trip. That's easy to do for that one trip to Iceland. And then, if you're trying to just spend 5%, maybe you go travel to go see some family or go to the beach or something for another trip for the year. But listen, y'all, I just wanted to make this video mostly about how some of the habits that we have with friendships can be counterproductive. So you want to really center friendships around something else that is enriching. You can take in some art together. It's cheap to go to a museum, hang out, maybe get some coffee, a little girls catch up over a walk and a chat with some ice cream. You don't always have to have a good deep brunch or even eat out. But if you do, just know that if you are planning girls' trips and vacations and brunches every other week, it can add up. And if you aren't budgeting for it, it will creep up on you like a spider in the night, okay? So don't be tricked by overspending to make other people feel good or to impress other people. It is a trap. And these girls' trips don't even end up being fun. Girls' trip horror stories. Let's see what comes up for that. Yeah, there's so many girls' trip horror stories. Miami, nearly 2 decades of friendship down the drain. This is going to be a long post. This is, like, you can read this if you want to. Susan and Mary, they have chaos. I would advise to rethink it. after a certain point in life, redirect your friendship energy and experience better results too. Because if you're focused on something positive, you can redirect the conversation always back to that when it starts to turn a little bit sour or negative. And once that, goal has been reached or whatever has been, you can kind of distance yourself without any awkwardness. If you want to continue, fine, but you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to maintain friendships that really have no basis other than going out looking cute, trying to be seen by single guys in places where no single guys ever go, like brunch spots. So anyway, y'all, I guess I'll talk to you soon.